Joining us now is Peter Brookes, Senior Fellow at Heritage Foundation. He was also Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense in the last Bush administration. He has served with the CIA. He has served all around the world. Peter Brookes, thank you for being with us today.
Good with you, Fred.
Good to have you. We've been talking about the consequences and significance of the recent release of additional old information and the recent decision of Attorney General Holder to at least take the first step toward the possible prosecution of people involved in these interrogation techniques. Give us your overview, Peter. What is the significance of this? Is this something, in your estimation, we as a nation should be concerned about the direction our government's going in on this?
Oh, yeah, we should be very concerned about the direction the government's currently going in on the domestic and foreign policy front.
Well, it's a good thing because I've been wasting a lot of breath.
I'm with you on that one. I'll tell you, this is a really bad decision. I'll let you do the lawyering because I'm not a lawyer, but I'll tell you about it from the perspective of a former operations officer at the CIA and a guy who spent a lot of time in national security around Washington. This is a huge mistake. You know, first of all, I think it's going to have a chilling effect on the folks up at CIA. You know, you got to wonder if you're a guy out in the field right now whether you're going to be concerned about getting terrorists or getting a lawyer. I mean, this is old dirt that was originally looked at several years ago. It's about activities that took place in 2002, 2003. The reports that have been released are from 2004. I mean, we're talking about 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I think that it's really going to make our officers risk averse, you know, with ones that are trying to make us safe. And I think you also have to think back to those early dark days of 2002, 2003, right after 9/11, when people were doing what they think they needed to do to get the information to prevent attacks. And we've even found out now that some of these interrogations, using some of these more challenging or difficult techniques, actually saved lives. I mean, it prevented at least 2 9/11 style attacks, one against the Library Tower in Los Angeles and another against Heathrow Airport in London. So, I mean, it doesn't really make sense to me, and I smell politics all over this.
Well, you remember after 9/11 when everybody was asking, why couldn't they connect the dots?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Right.
These are the dots that we're talking about. You had the biggest dots imaginable in before you there, and it's really mind-boggling, and we've been kind of debating here on the show as to whether or not this is politics or ineptitude, and you know, neither one makes sense. All I know, you've been on the front lines. I was on the Intelligence Committee when I was in the Senate, and I can just imagine what's going through the thoughts of a person who's thinking about joining the intelligence community right now, joining the CIA, or staying and making a career there at a time when we need people across the board. You know, we fell way behind in terms of analysts, experienced analysts, and so forth. We had let the intelligence community down in terms of funding and attention and so forth, and we're paying the consequences of that now. So now, as we're trying to get back on our feet, this comes down.
Exactly.
And it looks like that the CIA is having interrogation taken away from them,
sure,
and turned over either to the FBI or perhaps the others under the purview of the National Security Council. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's as I wrote this morning in an op-ed, Fred, I said it's almost as if, in addition to the wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and on terror, the Obama administration has now declared war on the CIA. I'm telling you that you probably know Leon Panetta personally, but I don't think he's going to be around very long.
We've been hearing that he's threatened to resign.
Yeah, well, he's fed up with this because of the fact. Well, my understanding is that he's fed up with it because these are his people now, and he wants to have their back. And you can't have people out there taking risks. Porter Goss was very good about this sort of thing, about taking risks out there in the field, where especially now it's even more dangerous than when I worked there. I was more of a Cold War type, but now when people are really going into battle, to ask them to take these sort of risks if you don't have their back, if you're not going to protect them when they're taking very great risks to get information of importance to our policymakers and to our military as well. So, we've heard about the screaming match at the White House. I don't doubt it. But the fact of the matter is that it seemed to me that the president promised Panetta publicly that they weren't going to look, that he wasn't happy about things that had happened there, but he wasn't going to look back. We were going to look forward. And, well, of course, that is until he looked back. But remember, Panetta is Obama's guy. This is an inter-family fight. So, and
exactly.
I think that, and also Panetta's having some problems with the Director of National Intelligence, Admiral Dennis Blair. So I don't think Panetta's going to be around. And, Fred, that would mean that the CIA would have had, I think, 6 directors or acting directors since 9/11, which is just about 11 years ago. So, and for an agency that's been rattled many times before, you got to have a little bit of confidence to go out there and doing some of the stuff that these guys do. I think that their confidence is going to be rattled, and we may even have another change of leadership, and I just don't think that's good. Another important point, and I'm sure you know this from your time in the Intelligence Committee, is the fact that other countries are going to be very concerned about sharing intelligence with us for fear it's going to show up in the major newspapers and on the Internet. I mean,
exactly.
Even assets. If you're running assets out there, guys who are risking their lives to give the Americans intelligence to protect our national security, are you going to give intelligence to the Americans that's going to end up on the front page of the paper and you may end up with a swing in the gallows? I think people are going to think twice about that, and in addition to the best and brightest that often end up at the CIA.
At the same time, aren't they continuing on some of the same policies that Bush had with regard to renditions?
There's all of this. I mean, we'll talk about the Predator strikes in Pakistan. I mean, basically, the only successful policies out there that the Obama administration has right now are ones they're continuing from the Bush administration. I can't really point to a real success. I mean, Iraq is still troublesome, but it's cautiously optimistic, and that's because of the surge by the Bush administration. Afghanistan is they've not done well with that, even though it was on the uprise, and now it's been troubling. So I think that most of the stuff that they are doing is based on Bush policies, but you can never say that. When they sent 17,000 additional troops to Afghanistan, they didn't call it a surge. Call it anything but a surge, because that would also give credit to the Bush administration. And I think that this is also part of demonizing the Bush administration, Fred. They want to unite the left. The left is not happy with him right now. They're not getting what they want on cap and trade, on government health care. And so what he's saying is, let's throw him a piece of red meat here, and then maybe this will make them happy.
Well, that's exactly what we've been talking about. So you don't believe that Holder is doing this against his wishes?
Oh, come on. You and I both know, being around Washington, he may have told the chief of staff we're playing that sort of game, and the chief of staff told the president, and he can say that Holder never spoke with the president, one of those sort of things. But
I'll tell you what. One thing I've been around long enough to know that Holder is known for one thing. Is known for not having one characteristic, one particular characteristic, and that is the courage to exercise independence from his boss.
Oh, sure.
You know that from the Mark Rich pardon.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the other thing I'm worried about is that the release of these documents, which was discretionary, is going to also prove a propaganda coup for Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, which will put it on their websites.
Exactly. Peter Brookes, so informative. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Sincerely appreciate it.